I made a major mistake. And I'm going to show you guys on how I took a small profit. I took a little tiny profit here. I took a little tiny profit when the setup was so beautiful, when everything told me, when everything was perfect. This was a textbook short. Going to show you guys the trade, how badly I messed up, and all of that fun stuff in this video. So make sure you guys stay tuned. All right, so I want to show you guys this trade. Look at this. I got short at the 80s. I got short at 3,080 for a short. And I'll show you why I got short there. But look at this move, right? I got covered the 78s, 76s, and look at it, down there to 58. Now, I'm not saying I would have held for the entire move here from the 80s to the 58s, but in general, I'm thinking that I probably at least would have gotten 70s, maybe down here to the 60s. Really, there's no reason for me to cover where I covered other than the fact that I just ended up taking profit way too early. And now, it's easy in hindsight to sit here and be like, well, you coulda, shoulda, woulda, and all of that fun stuff. But what I really have to, again, I have to really focus here on is why? Why did I cover there? What was the reason, Patrick? Why did you think that was an area to cover? There was no reason to cover there. Now, if you look at this setup, check this setup out. All right, we got the 80 high there. That was the high here, the high here. I mean, there was nothing but resistance in that area. So you can see nothing but resistance multiple times there. What do we got? We got nothing but resistance across that 80 level. 1, 2, 3. Short all day short. Where do I put my stop at? It's really simple. If I'm shorting here, my stop can be right there. I can risk 3 to 4 handles, right? 3 handles. Risking 3 handles here. And look at this move. Down close to 25 handles, 26 handles, 23 handles, whatever you want to call it. This is the type of setup right here that can make or break your type of trading, that can make or break your trading in general. Because again, I took a good trade, right? We had the resistance, we had the resistance, we had the resistance. Everything told me that this was a short here at the top. We pushed down, we pushed back up. Okay, it's a short. It's time to short. This is the type of setup right here that can make or break your weekly goal, whatever your profit target is. Let me short here. Let me cover a little bit, down here. Really on this, look at this move on the 15-minute chart. There really was no reason for me to cover till maybe down here in the 60s when we touched that EMA. That probably was really the only reason for me to cover, because you can see we went from the 80s down there to 67. We had a little bit of a bounce back here, back up to the 70s, and then rolled off again. Now, painful to say the least, because again, this is very, very clear to see here that resistance, support right there. Now, why was that previous support there? Guess what? If I show you why, check this out. That previous resistance that we had there, previous resistance here at the 60 area, right there at the 50, kind of in this area, we had a previous resistance there that turned into support. So at that point, we can be like this. We can be like, all right, here's our new channel that we're in now. We're in this new channel. We push up, we pull up a pullback, we push up, we pulled all the way back down to that previous resistance. We pushed up again to that resistance, and now we're down there in the 60s. I'm telling you, this type of setup right here is the type of setup that I should be hammering. I should be hammering this thing so hard. And I'm not talking, I'm just talking about this in general, this type of setup. You gotta, when these setups appear, when this type of action appears on the chart, when it's clear that this is what's happening, when we have that resistance, when we have all this stuff lined out there, what was I doing to think to only take a small profit right here? Now, it did kind of, obviously bounce back, and then kind of just was a green, all the way there to the 80s. So maybe that's why I kind of was hesitant about it. But overall, what was I thinking to cover at that point? Again, it goes back to the rules of trading these 15-minute setups, Patrick. There's no reason to cover here. There's no reason to cover here. There's a little reason to cover here off that, EMA there. But in general, there's no reason for me to cover. The same idea that if I'm buying, if I'm buying the dip, if I'm trying to buy a support area, okay, I'm buying here, the support area. But why, I'm shorting here because I clearly see resistance, resistance, resistance. Okay, it pushes up there, pulls back. But in general, this is a setup all day that you got to take. You can risk 3 handles for 10, 20 handles here, possibly 30 handles if it pulls down here to the 50s again. Quality setup, Patrick, quality setup. So this is what I'm working on. This is my focus. I've got to stop doing this because, again, it goes back to, like I said, the other video the other day talking about the overall percentages, right? So if I'm correct 60% of the time, right, I'm 60% correct. If I can, take profit on those 60% of those trades, 10 to 20 handles on those trades, risking 3 to 4 handles on my losers, I can be very, very profitable as a trader. But the issue here is when I short here, I risk 3 to 4, I take only 3 to 4 profit. So that's ruining my risk to reward because now we're just one to one. Barely break even at this point after commissions and fees. So really, you've got to be very strict with your rules the same way that you're strict with like, hey, I'm only going to short at the resistance here, right? I'm only going to short there. Well, why was I covering there? Why was I covering? Why was I covering at any of these points when we clearly saw that there was nothing to get covered at? Like I said, there's a little bit of reason to get covered there. But in general, what was I thinking to get covered here? There's no rhyme or reason. At the end of the day, there's no rhyme or reason to what I did. It's obviously a huge mistake. And in hindsight, it's always the coulda, shoulda, woulda. But in general, even if I would have got stopped out here, even if I got stopped out for a 3-handle loss, that's a solid trade all day. A solid trade. Risking 3 for, 7 to 10 is solid all day long. Let's go. I'll take that bet all day. Let's give me that opportunity. But again, when that opportunity presents itself, when we see, okay, we bounce off support, we've got that resistance, we push up, it's time to short. It's time to short this. It's time to look for the setup. It's time to hammer the setup, Patrick. And that's exactly what we did not do today because, again, this is a very profitable trade. This is a very profitable trade. With five contracts from the 80s down in the 60s, you're looking at a 20-handle move. That's over $500 in profit compared to only making $50 in profit. So again, like I said in the video the other day, how much easier is it for me to buy here? How much easier is it for me to get long, put a 5 to 6 handle stop, hold for that stop, and then get stopped out? It's much easier, right? It's super simple. It's super easy. You do it all the time. I do it all the time. It's easy for me to get into a trade and then get stopped out of that trade to hold for my stops. But again, it's hard for me to short, not take profit, and then get all the way down here. That's what's difficult. That's the difficult part. That's the emotional part of trading. That's the fear, I guess, the fear of trading right there. So good little lesson today to look at. Again, identifying the resistance, but not identifying where I should be covering at. Not having an overall game plan, a focus. Obviously, like I said, in hindsight now, it's easy when you see the setup that's there. But this morning, when it pushed up there to the 80s, I short, right? What is the reason for me to get covered? So that's one of the big things I'm focused on right now so that's one of the really big things right now that I'm focused on. You guys should be focused on it as well. If I'm shorting, if I'm getting long, where's my target? What's my plan? If I'm getting into the trade, I got to stick to that plan. Stick to the plan that we outline. Because again, if we're correct 60% of the time, we want these winners. It's an odds. It's all about probabilities, right? If I'm correct 60% of the time, when I am correct, I need to make sure that I'm capitalizing off of that 60% win ratio. That when I'm right, I win big. When I'm wrong, I lose small. There's a little tidbit for you guys here on a Friday after. There's a little tidbit for you guys on trading and following the rules and all that fun stuff right here on the #1 day trading channel. So make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, the like button, all the buttons down below. I will talk to you guys